Hello, welcome. I'm not usually nervous about these things, but today's a little bit different. I'm feeling a little bit nervous. I partially blame the audio director of Madden because he told me, don't mess it up. So I'm gonna do my best not to mess it up. Another thing about me, this is my happy, excited face. I really am happy and excited to be here, but resting jerk face takes over. Another thing, I don't like to read everything that's on my slides, so this is something about me. In 2018, my friend Tom Todia got me a job. I was on a contract working on NBA Live for EA. And while there, I met the Madden team, did some sound design work for them, and a few years later, got a call to come and be on the Madden team. And that has expanded now to include college football, which, have you all played college football? Crazy became the #1 selling sports video game of all time. Like, what? Crazy. So one of the things that I did when I was on that contract for NBA Live was I got to sound design what we call a boot flow video, right? So when you fire the game up, the first thing you see and hear, right, is that EA Sports. It's in the game, right? That thing. And that was just like, whoa, you know, I can't believe I get to do that. And now on the Madden and college football stuff, I get to do that too, which is just ridiculous, right? So I wanted to play you, this is from Madden 25 and college football 25, the boot flow videos that intro the game. So, oh, and I'm having a little bit of a audio issue, so it might be silent the first couple seconds. My laptop is being silly. But here is those two things right here.
EA Sports, it's in the game. Sports.
So one of the things about that, you know, we intentionally want to make, even though football is football, whether it's college or pro, it kind of sounds the same, right? But there are unique things about college and pro football that make it sound different. So even in that boot flow thing, we wanted to show from the start, these are different. Right? So putting the marching band into that build up and having the crowd chant, you know, EA Sports, you know, in the game quote, was something we could do to separate the two, you know. And this is our audio team. It's not a huge team, but it's not tiny. And actually, I don't know, I didn't count, I should have done that, but I would say 2/3 of these guys and gals work on the speech side, right? So we divide our team into two groups, speech and core audio. So speech is like the commentary, the announcer, right? And then everything else falls into core. So it's a lot of speech in this game, both games, with the multiple announcing crews and having to be, you know, say like every player's name and numbers and yards and all these things, right? It takes a lot. So most of our team is made up of people on the speech side, and what they do is voodoo to me. It's just crazy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that stuff. What I'm not going to do is I can't dive deep into the tech side. A, we don't have enough time, and B, some of it is proprietary stuff that I can't talk about, right? And I can't talk about what we're doing right now or what we're going to be doing. I mean, college football 26 was announced, so you know we're working on that, right? But I can't go into that. But I'm going to do my best to give you an overview of where we came from compared to now, and our different like buckets on the core side. I've got some examples to play for each of these things, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of like the breadth of the work that this team does, because it is a lot, right? So going to the, where did we come from, how have we changed, I'll show you a couple videos here of where we were 10-ish years ago and where we are now. So on the college side, this was the last release before we just came out, right? College Football 25. So let's check this out.
Now the offense gets ready to take their first crack at it. They're packed in tight on the line.
Oklahoma! Watch the motion!
And he's tackled around the 23-yard line.
You know, these backwards plays can have a psychological impact. It can damage a team's confidence if it keeps happening.
So then in comparison, here's the release that we just did.
The LSU Tigers offense will take the first swing of the game. When these two teams square off against each other, they know the legacies they carry, and that'll be evident in this one, guys.
Alabama-LSU is one of my favorite games each and every year because this is one of the fastest games you'll see all season. There is so much NFL first-round talent on the field every time these two teams play.
Year after year, we could go back and name so many names, but you're right, the draft is going to call them. The stakes are always high, the conference always on the line. These two teams, you know, are always squarely in the mix.
Let me go back, sit and pause this. So big differences there, right? The older version, more sort of video gamey, right? The UI sounds were out in front and really punchy. I mean, we did have the chant stuff and the marching bands in there and whatever, but advances in technology and consoles, allow to make the sound quality overall just that much better and bigger, more immersive. Here in stereo, it's not as impressive as it is in surround, but you get the idea, right? It's big changes between the two. And if we look at Madden, you'll hear the differences there as well. So this is Madden 25, the first one here.
11, NFL Rookie of the Year, quarterback Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, not only is he good, he can throw it, he can run it, he's big. Man, he's got a pretty good smile, too.
First down on the way. Newton still has it after some nifty play action. Inhales the pass. The Panthers get a first down.
Quarterbacks love play action passes because the defense, sometimes they're expecting run. You fake it, easy completion down the field.
And then we go to
here is the two.
And then we go to the one that we just released this past year.
And the Lions into a nickel set for third down. From the gun, Mayfield. And someone stepped in. It's intercepted. That's Carlton Davis. And the Lions have an early opportunity after the interception on the game's first series.
I don't know about you, but I'm a little surprised that one didn't make it all the way back for 6. Took some amazing effort from the guys making the tackle to save a touchdown, but still an outstanding return from a defense that sensed they needed the big play, and they found it.
Again, big differences there. And one of the things that we focus on the most is authenticity, right? It's a simulation game, but it's still a video game, right? So we want to be as authentic as we can in both college and Madden, while also rewarding the user for things to make it feel good to play the game, right? And looking at both Madden and, both NFL and college football, no matter what team it is, it's someone's favorite team, right? So you want to make sure that you have these things in there that they've come to know through years of being a fan of this team, whether it's a crowd chant or like in Detroit when the Lions score, there's a huge horn, that fires, and fight songs, of course, rousers, things like that. So we do our best, to have that, and there are limitations. There's budget limitations. There's time limitations because we do this every year, right? So you can only get so many things in there, especially on the college side. I mean, there were, I believe, 132 schools in the game when we launched. So that's a lot to do with all this stuff. But we do our best, and here are some of the examples of the ways that we do that. As you just heard in that Madden example, Kate Brock commentary. First time we've had a female commentator in the game ever, which was huge. But all of the commentators are pros in the industry. So you watch a football game, you hear their voice, right? So we want to use those voices in there. And so here's an idea of what's in the game, right? EA Sports, it's in the game. And like I said before, and numerous times at this point, it's a lot. And we sort of, break them down into these areas, and each of these buckets will have hundreds or thousands and even hundreds of thousands of samples and variations that we, are using. So it's a lot to handle. To give you an idea of how much it is to handle, here is some info on the commentary in college football. And the number that sticks out to me here is 65,000 samples, and that's just commentary, right? It's insane. And do I have the, oh yeah, from back at NCAA 14, 40 hours of recording, it's not a lot. College football 25, 870 hours of recording, commentary. And then all that has to be edited, all that has to be implemented into the game, has to be hooked up to the context to make it fire at the right time, right? So that when the user does something, they're speaking to it immediately. And if that's crazy, Madden is nuts. 190,000 samples of commentary in Madden 25. Just endless hours of recording and editing by the speech team, mastering everything, all of that, right? And it's mind-boggling to me. Like I said earlier, it's voodoo, to me, what they do. It sounds simple: record, edit a voice, but it's so much more than that, especially on this, massive scale. And it's just crazy to me. When we shift over to crowds, before Madden 24, I think it was, we had the crowds basically broken into what we're now calling generic groups: an awe, a boo, a yeah, right? So you do something positive, it's yeah; you do something negative, it's boo. And then there's crowd beds underneath there, right? To just the sound of the stadium, whatever. And we have crowd swells as well, right? So there's basically three groups. But the reactions we now call generic, were awe, yeah, boo, O, I think was the other one. But we made a shift. We partnered with ESPN and installed 64-channel recorders on their broadcast trucks. So they fed all their mics in the stadium into this recorder and then would send us the USB with the files. And then we take all of that and we break it down into specific groups for plays for the reactions rather than going to oh yeah boo whatever. We still do that. We still have the generic stuff in there, but we move on to get more specific. So yeah, here's I skipped ahead what I was saying, but we've recorded 134 games so far in this partnership, and that is an insane amount of content to go through. I'll give you an idea of some of their mic setups here around. They've got surround clusters, they've got mono mics, stereo mics, all around. Depending on the size of the game, the number of channels will vary, right? So let's say a small school like James Madison in Virginia, they might have 32 channels of mics that they're recording. But you go to LSU, you know, much bigger stadium, probably, I don't know the statistics of that 100 and something thousand people or something. They probably have 62 channels, 63 channels of microphones all around. And here, I'm sitting in the way. I'll move over here. Here's a track list from what we call Truck One. So the Truck One is at the big games, the Alabama, the LSUs, Florida States. And you can see here, we also get some of their mixes, right? So he'll do a quad mix of, as he's outputting to the broadcast. So he'll give us that stuff too. We end up not using that typically, but it's good to have as a reference. If we hear something in that, like a noise or something that we don't want to use, we can find the microphone where that noise is coming from. So yeah, here's the process. You know, like I said, they send us the USB drive. We ingest that, sync it up to video, and then go through, and the audio artist goes through and marks regions and says, okay, interception, sack, touchdown, you know, whatever. It marks all that stuff, and then go through and you go, okay, this one sounds good. We want to use that. We'll cut that out, go through what microphones, you know, have noise in them. Maybe the PA announcer came in real quick after a big play or whatever. We don't want to have that in there, right? Because we have our own PA announcer. Or maybe the marching band started playing, or they started playing music over the PA. And so we have to go through and pull that stuff out. And then after that, you eliminate microphones. You say, okay, it's good or it's close, but there's a ref whistle or, you know, sometimes clicking or whatever. So then we take that into isotope, RX, denoise, click removal, magic brush out the whistles, whatever, master that out, and then it comes to me. I listen through every sample that is cut and either give notes or approve it. If it's too short, maybe we just say, nah, we have enough in that bucket. We'll just delete it. And so like I was saying earlier, we have these three groups of crowds: beds, swells, and reactions. So the beds are constant. The swells come and go depending on what's happening, and the reactions are fired on a play, right? Whatever that play was, the sack, the interception, like I said. But it's more complicated than that because we have all three of these groups broken into smaller groups, because the crowd bed in a stadium, the general noise isn't going to be the same when the home team's getting their butt kicked or if they're crushing their rival, right? The general noise level is going to be louder or quieter. or more positive or more negative, right? And yeah, I mean, you hear a crowd, you think it's a crowd, but there are differences there. Subtle as they may be, we want to try to get that across. And the same goes with the swells. There's excited, positive anticipation when your quarterback throwing a long bomb, right? You're like, oh, what's going to happen? And so we want that. And then there's also, oh, the opposing running back is running down the field to score a touchdown and beat you 64-0. You know, so there's positive and negative there. And the same with the reactions. Like I said, generic, and then we have these plays. So here's the list of our categories that we break these reactions up into. And all of these have low, medium, high, and over-the-top intensity levels that we break them into. So the difference between a high and an over-the-top might be minimal, but the difference between a low and the over-the-top is going to be crazy, right? So we have those steps so we don't go from low to intense, super high intense over the top, and, you know, for each play type. Maybe a little much, but it makes it sound more realistic, right? And on the same topic as the crowds, the chants, like I said earlier, college football, the chants are much different than chants you might hear in an NFL game. And we put 130 plus schools in college football 25. How can we have all of these chants? You know, it's not possible budget-wise to go to 130 something schools and record during their game and hope you get a decent quality recording of the chant without the marching band and all this stuff, you know, being in there. So we had to find a way to do that. So our solution was to set up a ton of microphones on the parking garage and get EA staff members to come out. And so here's the mic setup, and it's evolved a little over the years, but so this one in the middle in the back, 416 is just firing at the ground to get like reflections. The one in the middle, the SASP, is mid-side, and then the two 418s are stereo, and then the other four 416s are mono. And so when we have the group out there, we're getting basically like if you're the group, the SASPs come down the middle, 418 goes like this, 418 goes like this, and then the 416s on the outside are pointing in to get more specific points, right? So we can get wider or narrower depending on what what one of our team members, Fernando, needs, because he's the one who takes all of that and does insane magic in Reaper. It's a track thing here. This is his template that he uses for creating the chants to make them sound like it's a massive stadium doing this, right? I actually have not sat and gone through this, but I know it's pretty complicated. And the end result sounds like this. Here's I think two examples in this.
Emotions of it, and the game can get sideways on you. The teams that play the best in rivalry games are the teams that have the best leaders that keep them focused on the task at hand.
Forced out of bounds after a nice gain. The offense is knocking on the door with a 1st and goal.
The defense is spread all over the field, creating some one-on-one matchups, and the quarterback makes them pay for it.
We get him down, but that's a nice play. Moves the ball to the 33.
You know, I'd say this run is pretty emblematic of what we've seen all day long. No matter what they've done on offense, the guys up front have controlled the line of scrimmage. They've given the quarterback time to throw. They've been able to run, really, whatever they wanted to. That's why.
So it's crazy, right? It actually sounds like a huge crowd doing that. One of the main tools used in that flow there is called Envy. It's made by a company called Cargo Cult. It's a little pricey, but man, it's awesome. It allows you to take the envelope of one sound and apply it to another one and adjust pitch and timing and stuff. It's crazy. So we go from the crowd down to the field. On-field sound effects, huge part of the game. Collisions, the ref whistles, the footsteps, all these things. It's a lot. And in the past, before 25, I think it was, in 24, we shipped like 25 sounds every time you hit someone. It was one of 25 sounds. It's not a lot. And so we partnered up with Brian Watkins at Warner Brothers, and we did Foley sessions and on-field recordings, and we took that from about 25 sounds up to like 550. This is the Foley team. They right after they did our session, they won an Emmy for Shogun, their killer sound. And so yeah, Brian and the college players that came out, and NFL loaned them some gear so we could record with the actual NFL gear and make it sound as authentic as possible. And why do we have 550 sounds compared to 25 before? Because before it was like person hits person sound plays, right? Well, the game team put in this physics-based tackling system, right? So you have velocity and angle and all of these things, and so we wanted to take advantage of the information that we would be getting from them and break the player down into different parts and record specific sounds for those parts. So the categories that we have are here, and those are broken down into light, medium, and hard. So it gives you, we add up, multiply, whatever, it gets more and more and more. And we take it a step further when you start talking about hit sticks. So like if you play the game, you want to crush somebody, throw a hit stick, right? So that is broken into angle and timing in addition to intensity, right? So if you come at the person at a slight angle and you're early, it's going to sound pretty weak. But if you nail the timing and you're square up on them, you're going to get a big hit, right? Rewarding the player for, doing it right. And to make all that stuff happen, this is Matthew Jarvis on our team, who's a Full Sail grad, built this collision system. And this is, I think, just part of it, but give you an idea of the schematic side of building this stuff to make it work, where we get the information from gameplay. This person hit this person at this timing, whatever. Go through. We want to play these sounds, and we want to position it in this area, and all of that adds up to our collisions in Madden here.
McCarthy to the air on second down. He'll let this go deep for Jefferson.
They'll try the left side with ETN. And he'll get this one down to about the 17. And they'll run with ETN. And he'll work his way closer to the goal line as he's got 5 down to the 3.
First game on the ground to Jahmyr Gibbs. And they're going to stop him after he wiggles his way forward for 2. Baker out of the pistol. Has it in close. And that's a huge hit there, but he's still able to power through enough for a 1st and goal.
All right, so you can hear the differences there, the variations, right? It's just rewarding when you crush somebody and you get that huge hit, and then the little stuff in there, filling it out. We also, I forgot to include in that, we also vary the sounds depending on whether you're the ball carrier or you're not the ball carrier. And the differences there is frequency-based. So we had 3 groups of sounds. Some had more low end, some had less low end, and some was all the parabolic mics with like mid to high frequency stuff. And so for ball carriers, we use a combination of all 3, and for non-ball carriers, it's all the light stuff, except for when a big impact happens. And then filling all that out, you know, we have the stadium sounds like we've talked about before, the Lions with the horn when you score a touchdown, or the chants, or pyro when the team runs out or they score a touchdown, fireworks, the Bucks shoot cannons off, you know, every time they score. So we have to have all that stuff as well to make it authentic, right? So a lot of that stuff we get from the teams, from the NFL licensing, or if we can't, we'll recreate it. And in college, it's a combination of all those things as well. But again, with 130-something teams, for the sake of time, I won't continue yapping about it, but I'll play you a couple examples here so you can hear the mix of these elements in with all the crowds and collisions and all the other stuff. Here you go.
They go play action with Goff. Flush down in the pocket. And he will score. It's a Detroit touchdown. The Lions parlay the interception into points. Well, Brock, they could prove me wrong, but I don't...
He's got it. The Vikings will move out to a 14-7 lead.
So yeah, the mixed balance there is something that we always go back and forth on, like how loud do you want them and whatever. But you get the idea. The Vikings has a very different feel from the Lions, and every team has their own unique feeling, just like college and Madden have their own sort of unique feeling, and we wanted to get that across in the sound, and that applies to the music as well. In college football, a lot of marching band stuff, right? And I know that there was a lot of talk about in the menu. It was all the drumline stuff, right? Just nonstop drumline stuff. Some people loved it. Some people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's super annoying." But there's a point to that. If you go to a high school or a college football game, before the game starts, the drumline marches out, right, playing their cadences to go to the game. So it's subtle, but it's a thing. Like, it's getting ready to go into the game. In Madden, we use mostly hip-hop in the menus. Usually there's a mix of like new artists and huge artists. We like to break new artists if their stuff is good. So I guess my daughter would know. How many Grammys did Doechii win? One, two. I think it was 2. Anyway, like, we had her in the game a couple times over the past like 5 years, and then, you know, now she's gigantic. But this for 25, we also did a thing in Madden where the music that's playing in the stadium, you could go into the menu or into the settings and change your menu music and take the stadium music and put it in to your menu music and vary it, you know, however you want. So that was super cool. And then the theme songs as well, another way that we make it sound different, right? So I want to play you, this first one is from Madden, and it's one of 4 theme songs that were composed by Chris Bowers for the game. This one happens to be the one for the Super Bowl because I like it more because you can tell the band has fun in it. So it's like 2 minutes or something, but check this out. So it's more of a, driving, harder instrument. I love the woos in there. The band had fun with that. And then to make it different, right, here's the theme song for college football. To the next slide. This is the first time I've ever heard it in a system like this. Man, there's a lot of low end in that college one. Dang. That was some beefy subs there. So yeah, obviously marching band influence right there, right? Like the college feel, getting that in. So all of those things that I've talked about that we're doing for each annual title is not the only stuff we have to do, right? We are still maintaining the previous game while we're working on the next game through live services. If you play Ultimate Team, there's seasons that come and go, right? And so there's audio design that goes along with these visuals. You open the pack, right? Depending on what the pack is, it has a different sound design feel and whatever. We update commentary constantly. Maybe there's a bug, we'll do a bug fix. And sometimes there's even a whole new feature that gets released in an update, right? So we're having to multitask with those things. And so to wrap things up, I wanted to play an example of some of the more fun sound design that we get to do for Ultimate Team. Full Sail grad, Kyle Burt, does this sound design. He's just crushes it. Love his work. So yeah, here are like 4 or 5 quick examples of the Ultimate Team stuff, and I'm hoping that we don't have that silence issue at the beginning of this, but we'll see. So check it out. So yeah, more fun, creative stuff rather than like hits and crowds, right? And we do those in surround, which is super fun. For quite a while, Kyle's been doing the sound design and then passing over to me to do the surround mixes. And then he's been sitting with me, and now he's doing the whole thing. And his work is just so good. So yeah, that is basically the whole overview of what we're working with. I wish I could go into more detail about each one of these things. It would probably take an hour for each topic, but yeah, maybe in the future we can do like a series or something if there's enough interest. But that's the thing. And if you have questions, I believe they have microphones in the back left or right. Let me know. Anyone? All right, we got one.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, my name's Connor. And I just wanted to go over the college football because you were showing the previous years. I think it was 2013 when it came to like big hits and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just me, but obviously it's kind of like a nostalgia thing. You know, we grew up with that. I actually kind of almost prefer that than maybe the more realistic modern day hits, I guess, because it's more arcadey. It's kind of how the whole game, I think, felt. I don't know if you guys maybe wanted to add a feature where it kind of brings back
Right.
the old nostalgia.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that's the balance that we struggle with, right? It's a simulation game. Do we make it more realistic or do we make it more arcadey, right? I think you're right. It sounds awesome. You know, growing up playing the earlier versions, I love it too. I will say this: I think those games looked more like arcade games, and so the sound fits it better. And I think now it looks more realistic, and so I feel like it's probably a better idea to be more realistic. As far as adding a mode where you could do that, that's beyond me, you know. But hey, it could be fun. But yeah, awesome. So we got Skitch.
That's right. Hey there, Frank. Great talk. I knew it was going to be great when you first showed me the slides and what your idea was for this. So thank you for showing so much behind the veil, because I think one thing that's hard to really understand without being in the company is sort of the scope and the flow of projects of this size here. Like, I guess my main question is always going to be, when it comes to especially the commentary side of things, you know, when you're building a system for that, what was probably like the one moment where I started feeling like, okay, now we're finally rounding the corner and this is actually working as we want it to, you know?
I wish I could answer that. That was before my time. And also, remember, it's voodoo to me. Like, I don't, that stuff, what they do is insane. I will say this: they are constantly tweaking it.
Sure.
Whether it's because something isn't working like they wanted it to, or, hey, I'd really like to hear this instead of that. So they're constantly changing it. They do reviews every week, and you know, results come out of that. So
I guess then from the standpoint would be, when was that moment for the crowd tech that you were all working on there? Like, when did that start feeling like this is finally starting to work as we hoped?
A few weeks ago. Seriously, no, for real. Yeah, and the switch to the event-based stuff, I think, made a really cool difference, and you could get more nuanced, right? But the time it takes to get in and like the context work that is done with that, and even just level adjustments. You know, I've remastered those crowds like 3 times just to try to get it to be feeling right. You know what I mean? So, yeah, literally the answer is a few weeks ago. Yeah.
For some reason, that does not surprise me at all to hear it's that recent. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I think we got somebody else over here.
Hello, my name is Alil, and the question I have for you is, like, seeing your team, how do you manage, like, dealing with, like, both games and, like, the upcoming game that's going to the next game, like the recycle? Do you, like, split the team up into, like, groups, like smaller groups, so it's, like, even less people working on the game, or do you spread it out evenly?
So, yes, the team is split up. Let me see if I can go here. So, 3 groups. This team is focused on Madden. This team is focused on college football. And this group, along with our dev managers, is focused on both, right? So, and all 3 of these groups are split into speech and core audio, right? And this, you know, you saw from the numbers of the speech stuff, it takes a lot more work to do that stuff. So most of the people are focused on the speech side. And they're literally just constantly having recording sessions and editing and implementing the content year-round. So it's crazy. And then the core side people, we're mostly focused on what we're currently working on, and then the little bit of the stuff like the Ultimate Team support, the live services support, that pops in and out. So it's a lot to manage at one time, but we also have our QV partners helping, going and looking for bugs and telling us, hey, there's this, I'm hearing this, I'm not hearing that, whatever. So working with them and the producers, we're broken into groups is the short answer, yes. But really it's a team effort, and people from the speech side will come help us, with our chant recordings and stuff like that, So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, no, it did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Frank. This is amazing. I don't play, so I'm just kind of blown away at the depth. I guess I'm not surprised that you're in. My question is about the future. What do you see as changes coming along? Maybe long horizon, maybe 5 years from now. How do you think things will change audio-wise? What should people be preparing with? And that kind of on the side, do you think there's going to be some kind of implementation of any kind of artificial intelligence to make it better?
Well, AI is a thing, and technology is always going to advance. So where do I see it in 5 years? I don't really know, but I know that we're not going to do anything that's not going to make it better. So we will continually improve using whatever tools that we can or are allowed to use, whatever. I don't have any sort of answer as to like what the future looks like for us with AI, but obviously everyone in tech is going to deal with AI in some form, right? And then beyond that, really, I think it's going to be what's happening with the console manufacturers. How much hard drive space is there? What about the RAM? Is everything just going to be online? Who knows what Sony and Microsoft and all these people are going to do. So we just need to make sure that we can meet the specs and all that. But yeah, I guess like I said, the only thing I can really say for sure is we're not going to do anything that doesn't make it better. What is better? Depends on how many people in the group, right? Everyone's opinion's different, so.
Hi, my name's Austin. I'm a programmer. So I was just curious, sort of like, what's it like working like with the programming team? How often do you guys be sort of like, I'm trying to get an idea of like what it's like in the EA sort of industry, right? Like the collision stuff you mentioned, like all that, like how tied together were you, right? If you wanted to say like, oh, it'd be great if we could do like, an extra thing. Like, do you guys like have meetings like that kind of just like a workflow thing?
Yeah. So the short answer is if there's a feature that we're trying to support, like the collisions, we say, this is what we want to do. And then we present it to the group, and in that group is the software engineers, and they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, we need to support you on this, or you don't need our support, you already have what you need, And then as things go along, we can say, hey, can we get help from the software engineers? And they'll help us. It's basically the same on both titles. We do have an audio-specific software engineer that helps us, but it's not because the system is built so like insanely. It's not really often that we need to like go to code stuff. I don't mean us coding. I mean we don't need to go and have code work done often, but when we do, I mean they're rock stars. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. We got one more.
Hey, Frank. It's Jose. I worked over there on MMA, NFL Blitz, NBA Live 13, 14. Thank you so much for coming in today and explaining all this, because honestly, I did get to work with the audio teams on several occasions, and this was back when Jesse and a few other people, Josh Money, were working there. The amount of work you guys do is substantial. It cannot be expressed enough, as someone else said, like just everything that you guys do on a regular basis. And I also live at the Julian across the street, and I saw you guys doing that stuff up on the roof, so I was wondering what that was. That is actually impressive that you got all of those chants and everything from just that amount of people. That's crazy. That's really impressive the way everything's come along. Very happy to see like everything that's been growing over there, everything that we had done back then, just as you were saying with the layering and the balancing and the mixing and everything has come, good Lord, like so far. And I'm encouraged to see just all the stuff that you guys have been doing now. And I would encourage anybody here that's very serious about audio design and everything else. This is an incredible place to go and work, especially with the amount of teams that you guys have now and everything. I'm blown away. I cannot believe just how much everything
thank you.
changed. But I didn't really have any question. I just wanted to comment on that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honestly.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. See you next time.